Hello and welcome to this month's episode of Pro Spotlight, where we feature the tax pros, the people who make filing taxes easier. I'm Christian Ortega, and on this episode we have Tabitha Clayton, who lives in Parma, Ohio. Tabitha, how are you doing?
Good. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Tabitha, how long have you been an accountant?
I've been a CPA for over 11 years now, so quite a while.
What was it that inspired you to join the industry?
Well, I was introduced to accounting by my sister, who's actually also a CPA. And I didn't plan on following her into accounting, but when I was in high school, I had the opportunity to take some college classes. And I didn't know what I was going to major in, but I took some introductory classes and I actually really liked accounting. So I was able to get a jump start on that while I was in high school, which was really nice. And then finish up after high school. About age 20, I finished up, took my exam, and got started in the industry.
When you're in high school and you're taking the classes for accounting, what was it that you were learning that inspired you to continue pursuing the career as your profession?
I think I appreciated the logic of it, also the analytical aspect of it, a challenging industry in the fact that you have to, it's not just math or adding and subtracting, but there's a lot of rules and analysis that you need to learn and do in the work. And so I liked that aspect of how it challenged my mind, and I found it rewarding. It's also a very practical industry to be into.
When your sister was talking to you about joining and becoming an accountant, what was it that she was telling you that you thought was worth giving it a shot?
I always was drawn to the idea of working in an office and working on a computer. And so those things were appealing to me. I gotta say, initially, I didn't think that I was going to join the industry from necessarily speaking with her, because I wasn't sure about public accounting and the schedules that are known to be the case with public accounting, very busy schedules, which I saw with her. So I was a little bit surprised when I took an introductory course and actually really liked it. It came easily to me. Like I said, appreciated the logic, the analysis, and so decided that I would give it a shot after all.
So when you graduate and then later become a CPA, what was your career like?
I participated in a few internships first. I also then had a position in what you would say internal accounting at a large company, doing some reporting for them. And then I went back to, I did end up going into public accounting for a small local firm that allowed me a somewhat flexible schedule, which I appreciated, and worked in that for several years before I decided to change the route my career was taking. I left there, and after a little bit of a break, that's when I came upon Taxfyle.
When you were talking about how you saw your sister in the long hours she worked in public accounting, when you were making the transition to go from internal accounting to a public firm, what was it that made you want to take that job?
I always appreciated the having a flexible schedule and work-life balance. That was something that's always been very important to me. So some of my internships that I had early on were in public accounting and taxes. And so I had enjoyed that line of work, but I was always concerned about the hours that would be required, the schedule that would be required. And so later on, I was able to be at a firm that allowed me a part-time and flexible schedule according to my needs. That really helped me to continue to work in that field for a time while that schedule still agreed with my circumstances.
With that in mind, tax season is still stressful. How do you find time to escape the stress?
I do think it's important to set aside time, generally, for both work and personal time. I think that's especially important, maybe with working from home sometimes, to set that division a little bit so that you're not always working or thinking about work when you're at home, but instead to have, time blocked out for work generally, unless you need to answer some communication or handle something that's necessary, but to generally have that time blocked out so that you still make sure you have opportunities for, personal time with your family and friends and things like that.
When you do have that time isolated for non-work activities, what is it that you like to do in that free time?
I do like to travel with my husband. I'm also a fan of the arts. So whether that's reading, drawing, or creating things at home, or even just being a fan of the arts in our local area, Cleveland has a lot of great art opportunities, such as the orchestra, Playhouse Square, going to shows and things like that, the art museum. So I really appreciate doing those sorts of things.
How many books do you usually read?
I enjoy visiting our local library, so I do end up reading a good amount of books, probably go through a book every couple weeks. So I read quite a bit.
What genre do you find yourself gravitating toward most?
I like historical fiction. Nice, often you learn something about histories, may even motivate you to look into an aspect of history that maybe even you didn't know about before, but also can be still entertaining and kind of fun to read.
How long have you enjoyed that genre?
Pretty much since school age, during various courses, English courses. They have you read books over the summer or throughout your classes. And I always really enjoyed those books that often we were encouraged to read in school, even the classics, which probably a lot of kids didn't enjoy reading, but I always even enjoyed the classics.
What was a book from when you were in school that, if not got you interested in historical fiction, you just remember fondly? Because like for me, that's like The Outsiders. I always remember that book. It was like one of the ones that I couldn't turn away from when I was reading it back in middle school.
I remember one summer in school where we were assigned to read Great Expectations, Wuthering Heights, and The Three Musketeers in one summer. And for some reason, that summer sticks out to me, that I really enjoyed and appreciated all those books. They were all very entertaining reads for me, and maybe that was a time in my life where I kind of was drawn to classic literature.
I remember reading The Three Musketeers maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and that made Dumas one of my favorite authors. I wound up binging The Count of Monte Cristo, The Man in Iron Mask, all of that, just to really sink into what he's written in the past.
Yes, absolutely. Me too. I enjoy reading. Once I read a book that I like, often I'll go ahead and explore other ones from that author as well.
So you also mentioned other aspects of the arts that you like. When you're in the Cleveland area, where is it that you like to go to that you can experience some different forms of that?
Well, we have a great art museum in Cleveland that has a really great collection. We also have the Cleveland Orchestra and Playhouse Square, which shows various plays or musicals. And we get a lot of the famous, Broadway tours coming through Cleveland. And so it's always fun to go see shows like that, as well as various, festivals maybe around the local area that feature different local artists that might make their own art or crafts or things like that.
What do you like about being able to experience the arts and have such a diverse amount of options to choose from?
I think I just really enjoy those types of things. And so it affords me the opportunity to experience those things in a local area. I do enjoy traveling, but it's nice that we have so many great opportunities for different arts and culture in my local area. And that way I don't always have to leave town to appreciate something that I enjoy.
What is it like being able to go and either spend time at a museum or watch a performance or even a couple hours in the library with your family?
I think it's a great way to sometimes decompress. You asked earlier about finding time to de-stress, whether it be during busy season or just the rest of the year. Life is stressful, right? And so those are great opportunities to decompress from the stress and just have some time with family or friends where you can enjoy something without worrying about the stresses of life.
So, Tabitha, going a little bit back to your career as an accountant, as you've gained more experience in public accounting, is there a specialty that you've developed?
I suppose tax would be probably more of a specialty for me now in general. I in previous employment that I've had, I worked in various forms of accounting. So I've done internal accounting, I've done some compilations, financial statement preparation, things like that, bookkeeping, etc., but also taxes. And so now being with Taxfyle, I'm definitely a little more focused in on taxes. And so I've been able to focus in on that.
How does Taxfile help you stay sharp with your tax knowledge and apply it to what you enjoy most out of accounting?
Taxfile offers a variety of different types of jobs. So whether it is individual or personal taxes, or if it's business taxes, there's quite a variety. I've had experience with all of that in previous jobs. And so I already had experience, but like you said, it does help you stay sharp because you're constantly dealing with different types of clients, with different types of problems, some of which you're maybe very familiar with, others, maybe you gotta, keep up to date on a new subject or a new question that you're facing. And so it definitely does help keep you sharp and engaged in the industry.
What moments from your career have you had where a client comes to you for help with their taxes, whether it's because it was a complete mess or they just didn't know where to begin, and you were able, using your experience, to help them understand their situation a little bit more fluently and find relief?
I think for me, it's been a great experience when somebody does feel maybe stuck with their taxes, or perhaps they've um, maybe not had a good experience in the past with a former tax preparer or former maybe advice that they've listened to with their taxes, and things get a little messed up and they're not sure what to do. It's great to be able to provide that better level of service to reassure them, to answer their questions, give them that confidence that we're going to figure it out and get it done right. And that then they can, no longer be worried about their taxes and the IRS because we've figured it out, we've handled it, and again, we're getting it done right. And I think giving that level of assurance is rewarding for me because I do really value integrity and honesty as a tax preparer, and therefore giving my clients that peace of mind.
So there's options where people can file themselves or use a free file platform. However, I want to get your perspective on how somebody can find value from investing and using a CPA like yourself to help them with taxes rather than take it on themselves.
Yes. So often those platforms are limited in some respect, right? Because as well programmed and planned as they may be, they're not a human person. So, sometimes prompts or questionnaires, whatever the program does to filter the person's information, can still sometimes misguide a tax a person that's trying to file their tax return. And so they might not be getting the complete picture successfully portrayed on their tax return. They may be missing things. There may be some items that are mixed or missed, or perhaps they're not sure what that means. They're not sure what a question means, and so they don't answer it properly. And there's no one to tell them that that's incorrect. Versus when you are working with a tax preparer, they're able to look at all the information you're given and really think about, does this make sense? Are there holes? Are there things that maybe seem to imply that there's additional information that needs to be provided? And a tax professional is really better able to do that. There's been many times, in fact, I would say most times, when I have a client and they provide their information to me, and it may be very well organized and well done, and yet still often I need to ask for more information because I see something is not fully incorporated into what they provided to me, or there's something that needs to be reported that maybe they didn't know needed to be reported. Often that is the case. And so I can locate that and then ask them for more information. Often I need to do that because that's why we're tax professionals. That's part of the part of us being a professional in this area, is that we know the rules, the laws, more than a individual that's not involved in the profession is going to know. And so we can help make sure that all the bases are covered, that everything is getting reported accurately to the IRS, and therefore, again, they have that peace of mind that it's getting done correctly and accurately, and less dependent on the precise programming maybe of a software system that might lead them to do it themselves, but may not be accurately able to figure out if anything's missing or wrong in that information.
You mentioned something that I thought was interesting, which is how more often than not you have to request additional documents for people. Can you put into context how often it is that people are potentially missing out on overlooked deductions or credits, or they need more information for you to accurately file their taxes? How often does that happen, and how surprising is it?
It definitely happens. Sometimes a person that has not maybe qualified for a certain deduction or credit in the past suddenly does, or may. And sometimes it takes a tax professional to say, hey, this expense or this income has changed and it may make you qualify for this now. But in order to check, I need this additional information. And so sometimes when they provide that, they are able to qualify for a deduction or credit that they haven't in the past. And that's always great news for the client. And if they don't qualify, if it still doesn't work out, then no harm done. But I find that customers really are thankful for the effort that I and other tax professionals go to make sure that they are getting those deductions and credits that they do qualify for.
Why do you think it's so common that customers come to you overlooking necessary documents?
Often it's simply because they're not fully aware of the tax law. Maybe they're familiar with, providing their W-2 or, their 1099s, maybe some business information if they have something like that. but they may only be aware of things they've reported in the past. Often they may not be aware of tax implications of new transactions or expenses or forms of income that they maybe haven't had in the past. So every time a new thing happens, they may not realize how that's going to impact their taxes. Also, tax laws change yearly. Again, it's a reason why a tax professional is a tax professional, is because we're required to keep up with all those changes. And so where maybe someone didn't qualify for a deduction or credit in the past, maybe now they do, just simply because of a tax law change. Or some laws have different phase outs or requirements to qualify, and maybe a person didn't qualify before, but now their income or their dependents or something else has changed, and now they do qualify. The tax law is so extensive, and we don't expect every person out there to know all those rules. But that's where we as tax professionals can help them.
How much work do you put in annually to stay up to date with necessary tax codes and new updates?
Oh, it's constant. Would be hard to even put any type of figure on it because it is constant. I receive all the emails from the IRS and various accounting associations on a national and state level, constantly, weekly, trying to keep up with those. We're also required, as those of us that are CPAs are required to take continuing education courses constantly in order to continue to have our license. And so through all those courses, reading, law changes, it's a constant activity to keep up with what I need to know as a tax professional.
Besides the access to job opportunities, what value do you derive from helping people file their taxes?
Yeah, it's always great to be the bearer of good news. So when we are able to, find a new deduction or credit that can help somebody out, that's very rewarding. It's nice to be able to find those avenues of savings for clients, and it's rewarding to be able to save them some money when we can. At the same time, sometimes, unfortunately, they don't get a great credit or refund or whatever. And so sometimes, unfortunately, we have to be the bearer of bad news as tax professionals that, you owe this amount of money. But I still find it rewarding to, again, give people that peace of mind that they're having a tax professional who is honest and has integrity compile their tax return and file it for them in a way that is accurate, and that they can sleep well at night knowing that their tax obligations with the government are completed in an accurate way.
How long have you used Taxfyle's platform?
I started in February of 2021, so almost 3 years now.
So 3 years on the platform, what do you like about the opportunities that you have?
When I first heard of Taxfyle, it was described to me as a gig work for accountants, and that was really appealing to me because I was at a point where I was kind of changing from my previous jobs, like what I was going to do, and I was reconsidering kind of what I'd wanted to do with my career. And Taxfyle seemed like a great fit because I could keep doing the work I enjoyed, but I could do it on my own terms. I could work when it was the right time for me. I could maintain a good work-life balance, especially with my family responsibilities. So I am a busy wife and mother. And so flexibility for me is very important. It's nice that Taxfyle allows me to work around other things in my life and still work, but work as much or as little as I want. For example, I had a child last year in February of 2023, and I was able to take off as much time as I wanted and simply just not take work on the Taxfyle platform for a time until I was ready to start taking jobs again. And that was a relief from having, a job with um, set times or a date that I needed to go back to work. It was nice that I was able to take off that time according to what worked best for my family. And even now going forward, it's great because I can work around, doctor's appointments and cleaning and whatever else I need to do around my home or for my family. I can work around that. And that flexibility has been awesome.
How valuable is it to have that much flexibility at this phase in your life?
So valuable. I've heard that many, women sometimes at this phase in their life, especially if they do have children, don't always stay in the profession, or maybe not even this profession in particular, but in general, may leave work for a time because it can be hard if you don't have a job that gives you flexibility with like family responsibilities. And so this has been great that I can work for myself. I can set my own schedule. I can do it around my family's needs. And it works. It's a win-win. It's really a great fit for a working mom.
And Tabitha, is there anything that I may not have asked you that you think is important people know, whether it's about your experience on Taxfyle's platform or the nuances of taxes and how your expertise is more valuable than not, that you think somebody should know about?
I guess I would say I just really have enjoyed being part of the Taxfyle platform. I think it's a great way in this modern age to get great tax help in a way that's really convenient for not only the tax professionals, as I've said, as it's helpful for me, but helpful for clients. A lot of people anymore, they don't want to have to schedule to come into a tax firm and, have a meeting with their tax accountant. Some people enjoy that, and that's fine. But it's nice that in this day and age, Taxfyle allows the freedom to handle taxes through the platform in a way that's convenient, secure, and a client can really get good professional service in a way that's so convenient and economical.
Thank you so much, Tabitha. I appreciate you having the time to speak with me.
You're welcome.
That was this month's episode of Pro Spotlight. Please be sure to subscribe and follow us on social media for helpful tips, whether you run your own firm, are an accountant, or just want to know a little bit more about how to file taxes. Check out our blog at taxfile.com.